Hi, welcome to the Louise Janetta YouTube channel, filmed from the Louise Janetta Studio and Gallery in Buxton, Derbyshire in the UK. Today I want to talk about very quiet abstracts and their paper collage painted in acrylics. It's nothing too bright and brash. They're going to be very earthy and responding to textures and to layering and glazing. Hope you enjoy. If you like the video, please remember to like and subscribe, and that way you'll be notified when I upload future videos. Thank you very much. These are the abstracts, or this is the results, and I'm going to talk you through the process and you can take from it what you want. I'm starting with a piece of paper, the very heavy watercolour paper, 600 GSM, and I've just taped it down with masking tape and divided it in two. So I'm going to get two abstracts out of this. And I'm just going to go through how I lay it all out and mess about with it in order to achieve it. One of the main things is what type of glue am I going to use, because do I want it to absorb the paint or do I want it to resist the paint? If it absorbs the paint, it's got to be, non-plastic, non-water resistant, like a cellulose glue. And if it's going to be fixed like a plastic, it's going to resist absorption, then it can be a PVA glue. And what I do is I create loads of textures on the paper and then paint it. So I'm just going to build up some textures. This is the one that's not, the papers haven't been sealed, so you can see that you can just touch colour onto this and it takes. Because the papers aren't sealed with a glue, the only thing that you do get is you can see the starch actually seals it a bit, so it's not as pure as you'd expect, but those sort of messes are quite nice. It sort of produces quite a nice effect, and of course you just got to go with it. And again, there you go, you've got the primer as opposed to the actual paper, again taking it in a completely different way. You can paint the gaps, and then you can paint the surfaces afterwards by just dragging the brush over the top or by putting a roller over it, because I really like that colour. And I like how the paint actually works with the paintbrush through the glues. I like those marks. So let's go with it, isn't it? They are strange. The colours aren't really what's going to be there at the end. They are just the base colours, just to get rid of the white basically. And then you can decide what you're going to do afterwards, can't you? And how you're going to pull the whole thing together. So you're just seeing how the paper responds to your paint. This is just acrylic watered down at the moment and being really absorbed by the papers. But what I really like about acrylics is you just keep going and going, don't you, until you're happy with it. I want to sort of build up a bit of colour that I can then start playing with in the next layer. And what's really nice, like even that sort of drop of water, if you leave it long enough, it lifts the glues a bit. And then you can use that mark. Do the same over here. Just let it be, and then I'll take off the paint when it's dry a bit. and just ever so slightly marks it. And the longer you leave it, of course, the more it'll absorb the lift the paint. And already you can see a nice few little things happening. So I'm going to leave that for a bit and let it dry. So I prepared and painted the beginning layers of these abstracts. I'm going to continue on now. I'll just show you just quickly how I prepare a nice little palette. So there is a video in the quick tips that talks about this. You just get a box with a lid, and in this case I've got some nice Ferrero Rochers and eaten them. You get a piece of blotting paper or kitchen paper, something fairly absorbent, it can even be fabric, and you put a piece of greaseproof paper, or in this case tracing paper, on top. And that way, and you dampen the blotting paper slightly. And that way your paints keep fresh, they don't dry out, they're kept damp by the moisture below. So you put your lid on at night time and it can stay fresh. I mean, it can stay fresh for a long time, but you have to let air to it and recognise that it does go mouldy if you just leave it. I've got some really beautiful colours, so I'm going to start working on the yellow one first. I'm going to build up some of the colour and texture in it first, and then probably add more textures afterwards. So it's going to be a fairly slow process, and I'll just show you a bit at a time. So the amount of times I put my acrylic away and then get it back out again and then put it back away again. Right, so I'm just going to see what happens, with these colours. And it's how you apply them and how you allow it to sit on the paper. So just takes experiments and gradually seeing what it is you want out of it. I've actually added a bit more gesso here just to get the white back on this paper, because obviously the translucence of the white allows for a very different effect. Another thing I do a lot of is wipe it with tissues. So I'll apply the paint with a brush, but then lift it off again afterwards and just spend my time gently lifting colour through this and seeing what it is that excites me and what it is that I like. Sometimes I like them quite quiet and dull, and other times I want the vibrancy of colour. When I say dull, I mean quiet. And what's really nice about this is it enables you to build up these gorgeous layers and glazes of colour. It's a really nice process and very exciting. And I think the thing is to be patient with it and to respond to what's happening rather than having expectations about what's going to happen. I mean, I really like that very bright stuff and the very subdued colour here, so I want to keep it. And I also love the way that these two colours are interacting here. I even like the funny lines that are caused on top of the other lines, so there's a sort of fight between the two lines, all the mark making and the way the colour lies. Like, again, I don't know how interesting you find it, but I love the grey in this and the way it sits so happily. I've always been fond of grey and yellow, actually. Okay, well, to me already that's getting interesting. So again, I don't need to take it too far. I don't need to overdo it. You've got to allow how beautiful it is without over messing it, I think. Sorry about the clunky noise, it's my acrylic box. I want a more of a lemony yellow here. I mean, in fact, I might even go for white. Also on the Tuesday tips or the arty tips section of my YouTube site is this tip, which is making up colourways like this that you can then refer to. You find that you add interesting colours that interest you and excite you. I mean, you can even juxtapose the two, so there's that colourway, but like those lot are nice, that pink's nice, the purple's nice with it. It gives you colour ideas that you can utilise on an image. The link to this video will be below in the description. So you can get your abstract and then just decide what it is that's going to make it exciting for you. I quite like that lovely duck blue on it, so I might go for that. I just thought I'd show you these because at the moment I'm particularly interested in these sort of earthy colours. I know this is watery, but it's got those browns and sort of deep hues of grey skies and muddy waters. I like them to look like mud and earth and water and a sort of strata beneath our feet that we don't see and don't pay much attention to. So I don't want to go too bright on these because it's not in my mood at the moment. Or what I mean is it's not in my interest. Or not what interests me. So I want to keep it to the sort of muds, I think. There's a colour I love. It says metallic red, but when I use it, it's not really red. It's sort of more bricky, but it does seem to have a bit of a sheen to it, which I enjoy. I'm just going to try that on there as well. And again, some things sit so differently to others. So it's interesting to see how these paints sit with one another. And you get this lovely opportunity to really glaze. I'll just show you a close-up of it. I get the pinky colour. So there's already a very lovely deep yellow. And then you just glaze over the top of it with a bit of colour. And it seems to just add so beautifully. That there, oh, you can't see it. Here is a lovely blue. And add the pink to the top of it. Not so that it stays harsh, just so that it's existent. And then somebody with any sensitivity will see it. They'll see it and they'll be interested in it, hopefully. Oh, there's a bit of white on there, but it's quite interesting. It's taken off the colour there, so I'm going to let that dry because I like that white there. I just want to smooth over those colours so there's no raw edges, so they blend into one another beautifully. What's really important is the paintbrush you use. This has got, it separates, so it does in fact give quite nice stripy lines, but it gives a very square edge all the time, and I want to change that a bit. I don't want the square edge all the time. So you just change over brushes every once in a while. There's this horrible little mark just there, so just lift it out with a bit of white, because then, so it doesn't show and catch the eye, and then blend the white through. I want to try some browns through here. And you see what happens, the actual edges of the papers stop you from being able to paint on them, and also the glues on the papers stop you from being able to paint on them. So again, it's a question of going with it a bit. I want a bit of duck blue as well that I mentioned before. See, and you can just touch the surfaces of things as well. Just drag it over and let it just sit on the surfaces. I'm going to leave that for a bit and let it dry, and then come back and add colour to it. One of the classic things is, I always do this, and I say I'm going to leave it and then keep going, is to keep the colours flowing within the picture. So if you add a bit of funny green up there, try and add it down here as well. What I really like about these is some of the colours that's forming in the depths of them, so I want to bring that out a bit more as well. So you've got these lovely yellows, and then I want some greys on top of them. And it might take a good few layers to do this. Oh, that was nice. The actual brush head is creating the same sort of lines as is on this texture. So I'm just going to use that lovely way it marks it as well. So you've got the texture and the brush marks. You see, I know that I'm encroaching on my next painting and I don't want these colours to spill over, but equally I didn't want it to just stop. I am going to leave that for a bit because I like that as it is for the moment. And I shall let it dry. Go on to the green one. Right, let's have a go at the green one now. There's some really lovely marks just there. I'll zoom in on it on the video. And I think that the edges of these are going to be nice. So I'm actually going to go brave and go for a lovely dark green inside of this. Just to see what it does. And you can see it sits on the surface of the textures. And again, you're using, you're cheating in so many ways. You're using contrast to help you with this. So you know that you've got a base coat of light yellowy green, and so you can work on top of it so you don't lose the textures. If you made them all the same tonality or the same colour, you don't have the lovely comparisons. Textures lose their definition and becomes less evident. So the thing is to do is to use contrasts to help you with a picture. I mean, you could go dark and put light on, you could use opposite colours to pick this out. Here as well, there's some really nice bits where previous layers have really affected it. And these lovely light blobs of colour, I'll probably lose them, but I'll try not to because I do like them. Yeah, you see there I'm going over to the next one, but that's quite nice, that is. And I suppose it's all very much to do. It's that moment's decision, isn't it, when you bung another colour on. And if you're not confident about it, just do it slowly. Build it up slowly. And because this, you can wipe it off, there's a sort of continual game, a continual play, a continual dialogue between all these different elements within the painting. So it's not defined or certain at any point. I can hear I've got a delivery or a postie or something. Just have a check. Honestly, they're so funny. I've got a whole load of frames being delivered and they've just dumped them in my yard out there, even though I've got my name above the door here. Oh, that's coming out lovely. It's the yellows coming out beautiful on that. So I want some, again, different mark making. And it just adds to the richness of it all. I have to make sure you can see both of them because I keep swapping over from one to the other. I like this cloudiness that's happening with the white going on top of the other colours. So I'm just going to play with that a bit. My cloth. Again, the white's interesting, isn't it? It's a funny thing. Okay, so go back to this one, I think. And again, I just want it to really respond to the textures within the papers and stuff. I want it to respond to what actually happens, How it's sitting with the glues and things, because it makes really unusual marks. Yeah, you see, look. You're sort of rubbing it off the glues as well, so it does funny things. And I want that to be there. I mean, really, they don't need much more. I think they're probably nicely interesting as they are. And you can go on saying, oh no, I need to paint it. You don't, do you really? Let's have a look at that. I've just tiny bit of green and blue on there. Oh, that's beautiful. I want that dark browny grey to come through a bit as well. So take that through there a bit. maybe even across to there. Yeah, even make it a bit on there. Okay, and for some reason I want a bit of green down here. Even like on top of the orange there. That's getting a bit dirty, but it's quite nice. Quite nice. I don't like that splodge on there, so I'm just going to lift that through. I like that sort of being a part of these funny things that are just coming through. And a bit more. Just pull this down through here. Can you see there's a rather odd mark there, but I might leave it because I'm not sure I can see it properly from where I'm standing, because I'm standing behind it, not looking straight at it. It'd be interesting to hear what you lot have to say about it. I'd love it. I should do it as a live performance and then I'd get proper interaction from everyone. You could say, you know, put colour here, or I like that pink in there now. Too much. Oops. Just going to take some of that out a bit. Oh, that's nice. Just because it's yet another strange mark. I want that colour through there, whether it's orange, I'm not quite sure. It's sort of not enough there. And a bit more orange through here. I'm trying to put a really light touch of orange in there. And it's really just to bring the colour through and down through the picture so your eyes carry it a bit. That's it really. I mean, if you think it's going to be like that. Okay, let's go back to this one. I've got that orangey colour, orangey red on my brush. And I'm just going to... Oh, that's a funny pink. I like that. Oh yeah, I like that. And that applies really nicely. A little bit more of that in the top. Which I hope you can see that, because that's really nice. I just want to alter the sort of complexity of the greens a bit. I'll take it down again. A bit light, just so that we don't get bored. But I do not want to lose that lovely effect down here. In fact, I'm going to paint this because I'll leave it as a thing coming over the edge when I actually frame it up. Whoops, too yellow. So I do quite like that. And just bring in that depth a bit there. It's a funny, intense yellow that, I like it. I'm going to pop it in a bit more over here. Pull it through on those lovely colours. What happens as well, it seems to me, is that it stops being paint. It starts to be some sort of growth, or it stops being paint and paper. You know, it almost looks like it's fabricated out of plastics, and which it is. And I have no idea what makes you choose colours, so I can't help you there. But it's a question of what you like at the time and the interaction that happens on the paper. Like, I've lost the subtle yellow of that. I might add it just a bit here. So I want that lovely, very, very, very light, cloudy lemon yellow. Yeah, there we go. And I've put it into the depths there. I just want a bit of it there. And I think with this, I wonder what would happen if I rubbed it over. Let's just see if this actually lifts off. Yeah, then you sort of get these funny... No, it's dried too much, you know. Oh no, there you go. There's some evidence of what happens when you lift it off. I don't like it though. And again, I want some more of that funny cloudy lemon yellow in there. I just like its quiet dullness. And then of course when it's dry, it's so different again. You know, it's got none of that wet look that you've spent that time achieving. That's such a shame I've taken that out. I've lost that beautiful greeny bluey, the eggshell blue that I wanted through there. Oh, that's better. So I do like that lovely, it's a emerald green with a cerulean blue, that. Yeah, I like that. So what am I going to do here? As it's dried, the pinkiness is gone, so I want to bring that back. I love the way that it just touches on the edges of the structures that you put on there. So the structures are determining how the paint comes and lies on. I think that's really interesting. And I do like this pink, this strange pink. So, oops. No, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to enjoy the mistake. I'm going to add a bit more pink into that just to see what happens. So I've got pink, orange and white mixed together there. I'm just going to again take it through, let it slip through. You see here, I'm just layering it too much. It's just going cloudy again, but it does seem to layer on some colour, so I'm going to leave it. And then I might, you see, I'd take that right down and have a smaller picture and lose some of this superfluous edges, but keep these lovely marks. Okay, that's it. I'm going to stop. That's it. This I'm going to work on. I just feel it needs some definition, but I'm going to let that dry and start again. I could go on with these, but I'm really quite happy with their sort of quietness. And also it makes for a really long video, but also you know what I'm getting at and you can apply the principles to whatever you want to do it to. If I rush this to finish it, I'm going to mess up these abstracts.